Design Technology for Key Stage 3. In this tutorial, we're going to look at the key learning for metals. This will help with any assessments that you have. We're going to look at the key learning that you may be tested on. In this tutorial, you will learn 3 different types of forces, the difference between ferrous and non-ferrous metals, properties and uses of metals, and metal finishes. All materials have lots of different properties. Some materials have the same properties, but all materials have to withstand forces. These are the 3 forces. Compression. This is adding a force by pressing down on each end of the material. Torsion. This is twisting the material in the opposite direction. Tension. This is adding force by pulling on each end of the material to pull it apart. Look at the pictures. Decide what type of force will be applied to each type of product. Pause the PowerPoint now. We're going to go through the answers. Let's look at the trampoline. The trampoline shows tension. This is because the fabric is pulled along the wire. This is to create the bouncy surface. But we've also got compression when people are jumping on it. The chair. The chair will have the force of compression as people sit down. The mini car. This will have compression, people sitting. It will also have torsion because as you move the steering wheel, it will twist the wheels and the axle round. The bridge. The bridge will have tension. The bridge wires are pulling taut to keep the bridge upwards. There will also be compression, as the main part of the bridge build will be pressing down onto the ground to keep it standing up. On the bike will have compression because of the weight pushing down. It will also have tension and it will have torsion. Torsion from the twist of the handlebars so that it can be moved round. Let's look at the properties of metals. Metals can be described through strength, plasticity, that's being able to be changed and deformed, malleability, the ability of the material to permanently deform in all directions without cracking. It can also be described as being ductile. This is the material being deformed by stretching along its length, like guitar strings or copper wiring for circuits. The differences between ferrous and non-ferrous metals. Ferrous metals are metals that contain iron. They have small amounts of other elements added, but it's mainly that they contain iron, and because of this, they do rust easily. Non-ferrous metals do not contain iron. They are pure metals. This means they do not rust. Looking at the pictures, you can easily identify a ferrous from a non-ferrous metal. Let's talk about ferrous metals first. In the ferrous metal category, you've got high carbon steel. This is the highest type of steel. It's not very ductile, that means it can't be stretched along its length, but is very, very tough and it's malleable. Malleable means it can be moulded into different shapes. For example, it can be moulded into the shape of the hammer shown. Another type of ferrous metal is mild steel. Obviously, this is a little bit softer than high carbon steel, which means that it is more ductile. It does have a high tensile strength. This is used for metal sheets, nuts and bolts. Let's look at non-ferrous metals. Non-ferrous metals include aluminium. Aluminium is softer and very malleable, so it can be shaped into different kinds of shapes. It's conductive to heat and electricity. And it's also corrosion resistant. This makes it suitable for things like boats, saucepans, tables and chairs that go outdoors. Copper. Copper is easily identifiable. This is because it's red in colour. It's very tough and it's ductile, meaning that it can stretch along its length. This is really useful because it means it can be made into copper wiring, and it does have a high electrical conductor and is corrosion resistant. Alloys. Alloy is when other elements are added to metals to improve the properties and function. For example, you might combine aluminium with other metals and other elements to create a new one. This is called an alloy. Stock forms of metals. Metals can be bought in different ways. You can buy them in metal sheets, rods, tubes, and angles. Finishes are applied to metals to protect the material, change the appearance, and enhance the properties. Look at the types of finishes here: lacquering, paint, plastic coating, and polish. I'd like you to connect them up to the correct meanings on the side. Pause the PowerPoint now and have a go. Let's go through the answers. Lacquering. This is the second one down, where a layer is applied and can be applied to preserve the polished effect. This also gives it a shine. Paint. Paint is the bottom description. Primers required before, and this is applied to protect from the elements and to add colour. Plastic coating. This is the one directly opposite. The object is heated and dipped in a tank of powder. This is added for grip and protection. And lastly, polish. This makes the metal shine. It can be applied by hand, a mop, or a buffing machine, and will save time and energy. Here are some examples of each type of finish. To help you revise, you may want to put all of your information you have learnt onto a mind map or create little mini flashcards. You can also write some questions down to test yourself on in the future.